Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. My name is Gabe Rosenberg, and I'm proud to work for Chris Donovan's campaign for Congress. I know you're not here to listen to me, and that you're looking forward to hearing from Chris, who has wanted to speak to you directly since this story broke. But I have to take a minute to set some ground rules. This is a very serious matter, and we have treated it that way. Chris has retained attorney Shelley Sadin of Bridgeport to represent him, his campaign, and his legislative office. That's spelled S-H-E-L-L-Y-S-A-D-I-N, and she's here in the front. Chris's lawyer has made it very clear to us that while she recognizes the importance of Chris speaking directly to the public, we must take great care not to do anything that might interfere with this important federal inquiry. This includes speaking publicly about matters that are not public. That means no questions about what he told the FBI in a brief and voluntary interview last week and what he will share with them as this investigation proceeds. Chris can and will tell you directly what he has already communicated through his staff, that he did nothing wrong, that he is shocked and disappointed by the allegations against his former campaign staff, and that he intends to promptly and fully cooperate with the government so that it can complete its work. You respected that in your questions to House Minority Leader Larry Cafaro, and we ask the same. I will remind you now, Chris Donovan has not been accused of any wrongdoing. None of us committed to this campaign would be here if we were not convinced of his honesty, his integrity, and his desire to serve the families of the 5th Congressional District. With that, here's Chris Donovan.
Let me be very clear about this. At no time did I know that anyone might have been trying to funnel illegal contributions to my campaign. No one ever made a deal with me as a quid pro quo. I did not know about it at any point during the legislative session. I only found out about the investigation on Wednesday when the FBI called me out of the blue for an interview. And I was shocked to read in the news the next day that Rob Braddock had been arrested. It was like getting a punch in the stomach. How could that be? If you've never worked in one, a campaign has a lot of moving parts. A congressional campaign, even more so. Fundraising is the part that I like the least. I've always believed money and politics don't belong in the same sentence. To date, this campaign has more than 8,500 donors. I know some of them. I've never heard of some others. How is that possible? Ask anyone who's run for Congress. Friends and supporters contribute. They believe in you enough, they get their friends to do the same. Sometimes they're people you've never met. It's a federal campaign, so people may not be anywhere near Connecticut. The next thing you know, you have a check from California or North Dakota. But as the candidate whose face and name are on this campaign, I did sign off on hiring key campaign staff. If anyone is responsible for those decisions, it's me. And I regret each of those hires right now. Let me say this clearly. No one bought my involvement, my position, or my influence on the roll your own legislation or any other, period. I was not involved with that bill. Our very capable House Committee Chair handled it, as she told some of you directly. And it's been mentioned, but bears repeating. It was a Senate bill, which never passed the Senate, so it never reached the House. There's a terrible irony in this. For years, I fought tooth and nail for Connecticut to have the best public financing laws in the country. We passed them. And they've brought transparency and accountability to our state campaigns. And I find myself in this position defending myself from what is just unthinkable. For the thousands of hours I've worked to guarantee fairness and honesty in the political process, and people in my campaign are accused of violating those values, it makes me sick. I've cooperated with the federal authorities and I will continue to do that as this investigation proceeds. I can't and won't speculate about the investigation. All I can do is emphatically reassure the voters that I've done nothing wrong. I represent the residents of the 84th District here in Meriden, and during the special session, I will vote on their behalf. I'll go and stand on the dais to vote, because that's where my voting button is. And I will not be presiding. I've recused myself from anything to do with the negotiation of legislation that might relate to these issues. That's the right thing to do. I have a job to do for my district and my caucus, and I will continue to do it as it relates to everything else. I will not resign as Speaker of the House of Representatives. You want to know what I've been feeling? I felt heartsick and disappointed and angry too. But no one who's ever known me has ever known me to walk away from a fight that's worth fighting. And I'm not finished fighting to represent the families of the 5th Congressional District in Washington. Leadership is measured by what you do when bad things happen. When I learned about this, I fired the staff involved. I hired a thorough and fair former U.S. attorney as an independent investigator, and I removed myself from any possible conflicts of interest. My reputation is on the line, and I know it. I won't be surprised if these recent events result in the loss of some support from certain people. At the same time, I'm so very grateful. I've been overwhelmed by some of the calls and notes I've received from others. People who have known me for 30 years or a lot less. And have told me to fight on, and I will. My family's been by my side every minute of this. And I love you and thank you for being with me. I'm sure this summer will give me ample time to connect with the voters of the 5th District in a way which will earn me their support. I'm looking forward to this race and fight like no other in my life.
Several stories show you, A, Chris, you're not a target, or B, Chris, you are a target, or that's just the lesson.
I've not heard anything. I'm just cooperating with them.
Chris, why'd you wait until today to make these statements? One out Friday, one out earlier.
Well, we found out about this Thursday, and as I said in my statement, as a leader I had to act. I fired 2 of my top staff, had to replace them. I hired an independent investigator to find out what needs to be done. I had to put that in place in order that I could then present to the public what I just did today.
I know you maintain your innocence, but a lot of your constituents are wondering
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, I know you maintain your innocence, but a lot of people are wondering how could he have done that?
I think I didn't know, and that is why I replaced my staff. I replaced my campaign manager and my finance staff because I did it.
Have you spoken to Governor Malloy in the last couple of days?
I have not heard from him.
Can you describe what cool race you see as to your campaign?
Once again, it would be inappropriate to comment on an ongoing investigation in which Chris is participating fully at this time.
Well, he's had a history with politics in Connecticut for a long time.
Right, but as I said, there's an ongoing investigation, and this isn't the forum in which to comment on it. Does anyone have any questions that aren't about the ongoing investigation?
Are you returning any funding and how much?
We will be returning the funding related to the illegal contributions. We don't have a finance director right now, so we're looking into that, and that'll be certainly the work of Stan Tuardi to find out what those numbers are, and we will act appropriately and quickly.
Are you going to release Stan's findings to the news media when this occurs? These finished? Tom said 15 days.
We met with Stan. He believes the investigation, he hopes it takes about 15 days. When we get that information, we'll act appropriately.
The government is going to, it's all right with them to take that.
Yeah, we're going to give it to the government as well.
Were you ever asked by past or present staff to influence one way or another the role you're on the city?
Once again, we're not going to comment on an ongoing investigation. It wouldn't be appropriate at this time. It's an investigation that Chris is cooperating with fully. So,
Chris, time obviously is an issue for you. The primary is 10 weeks away. Have you or your attorney has given any assurances from the attorney's office that they believe they can come to some public conclusion that would allow you to truly move on?
Mark, once again, that's getting a little close to the question of
That's not about the specifics of the investigation. That's about
an ongoing investigation. No, I understand, but this forum is not.
Well, related to the campaign issue, we had a kickoff of our campaign offices this weekend. We had over 150 people out supporting me in Meriden, New Britain, Danbury, and Waterbury.
How do you go forward with a campaign strategy where, you know, I know you don't like fundraising very much, but where you're going to need funds in order to survive in this contest? I mean, is it going to be more difficult now?
Well, it's always difficult. I'm a guy of average means, so I have to raise, right? She can verify. So it's difficult raising the money, and but I'm fighting for the people in this district. You know, we're having a tough time here in America, and somebody's got to be fighting for the people with my slogan of fairness, dignity, respect. And I have a record of doing that. I have to find a way to get the resources to fight for them. That's why I'm running for office.
You talked about how among the 8,500 donors you don't know all of them. Does this make you guys kind of rethink or are you a little more thorough about checking your donors now?
Well, now, I mean, it's 8,500 is quite a lot, and I think it's far more than any other candidate. That's why we're hiring a new finance director. That's why I have a new campaign manager. That's why we're going to be taking the recommendations from Stan Twardy as he investigates our process right now.
Chris, do you have a new finance director yet, or
No, we do not.
you're looking and
we're looking at we have a couple possibilities.
Critics have said that if you had strong leadership qualities, you would have addressed this earlier.
Well, I didn't know about it earlier. I just found out about it when you found out, pretty much when everybody found
But
out.
when we wanted to talk about it on Thursday and Friday, why didn't you address it immediately?
Well, I did put out a statement and telling you I was taking certain steps. I had to take those steps. I had to find a campaign manager. I had to hire someone to do an investigative, to do an internal investigation. I've done that, and now I'm presenting the information. I had to do that first as well.
Given the constraints that you've laid out here today, but not talking about the specifics of the investigation, how is it that you've been able to campaign and convince your supporters that indeed, you know, you have
Well, again, you know, it's not just about me. As I said, this is a fight for the people in our state. I'm going to be talking about healthcare and jobs and dignity and respect for people and senior citizens. Those are the issues that people really care about. They care about good government as well. I have a history on good government. I have a history of fighting for working families. I have to get out there to convince the voters I'm the guy that I'm not.
You have to call you on Wednesday? Again, it would be inappropriate in this forum to answer any questions about the ongoing investigation that Chris is cooperating with.
Yes, I do.
Again, it would be inappropriate in this forum to comment on an ongoing investigation. Does anyone have any questions that are not related to the ongoing investigation?
Well, this relates somewhat to funding. You said you were going to return improper contributions from this episode. Do you have any indication that there were other improper contributions?
I did not know.
From other sources? So yeah.
Do you have any sense of when you might be freed up to address this specific
Again, it's really inappropriate for Chris to comment on the ongoing investigation at all. But he's cooperating in it, and when he's freed up, he's freed up.
Why step aside from some of your duties as speaker?
We have a special session coming up, and the roll your own tobacco is part of, I believe, is part of some of that discussion. I'm not involved in that process.
Have any other donors asked for their contributions back?
No.
Have any folks called you and said that they're not going to support you after this?
Was the
What I've gotten is an overwhelming support from people saying, Chris, you've done nothing wrong. Keep fighting.
Can you describe what it felt like to have to fire one of your closest advisors who was with you both at the Capitol and here in the campaign?
I think the best feeling, it was a sick feeling that that this happened. But at the same time, I knew as a leader I had to do it. I had to do it quickly.
You're saying it's inappropriate to comment, but you're under no legal prohibition to talk about what you told the FBI, correct?
It would be. This isn't the forum to comment on an ongoing.
Will there be a forum? Because it's going to be part and parcel
That's
of the campaign.
not something that we can decide. The investigation is ongoing right now. It would be inappropriate to talk to the press while an ongoing investigation.
You've made a decision. You've made a decision for whatever reason to say it's not appropriate. What I'm asking, is there any
Well, it's not for whatever
legal? Is there any legal prohibition though in you talking about it? You know, Representative Farrell, for example, was asked by the FBI not to say certain things, but he actually went beyond that, and he did say some things on the record. So my question is there any legal prohibition? Are you acting on the advice of your attorney not to get into the investigation?
But Mark, obviously there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's an investigation ongoing right now. We can't comment on it. It would be inappropriate. Whether that's sound logic.
You articulate why it's inappropriate.
Yeah, I can't. There's an ongoing federal investigation happening as we speak. It's inappropriate. That much is clear.
How many candidates are you looking at for the new finance director position?
I don't know. We're putting out feelers to find out people. I know that at least one person's in.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.